So recently I was browsing the internet as I usually do, looking up how to grow more efficient crops in Stardew Valley and take back Kosovo, when my editor sent me this video.
Why I love Serbia and the Serbian passport so much. I think Serbia is one of those countries where you, as a wealthy expat, should be looking at for more freedom, for a plan B, especially if you're from the European Union.
And as a native who's lived in Serbia for 13 years of his life, living in every place from a small town in Vojvodina and central Serbia to the big cities of Novi Sad and Belgrade, I found this video quite amusing as how wrong it is. In recent times, I've noticed a lot of people leaving pesky old North America for greener pastures in the good old Balkans, even though the pastures are anything but green, but to each their own. And with that, I've noticed a lot of disinformation being spread. As if you couldn't tell, I love my country and I think there are many great things about it, but it certainly has some issues, especially ones that come out of a fridge. And as someone with a PhD in Balkan retardation and a minor in interpretive dance, I've decided to bust some of the myths in this video. So if you are a person who's looking to the Balkans, may God have mercy on your soul, you actually know what you're getting yourself into. And before I get started, I just want to say I mean no hate towards the original creator of this video, so please don't go and harass him over it.
The Serbian passport also gives you access to both east and west of the world.
So overall, the Serbian passport isn't actually that bad. It practically allows access to most of the countries in Europe, Asia, and South America. However, while it does that, don't expect to get the best treatment at the border. When I used to use my Serbian passport for travel, when I would cross the border, more often than not, I would get questioned and have my stuff searched. And no, this isn't just because I look like a convicted war criminal. And this wouldn't only happen when crossing into the EU, but also when I would go into non-EU countries as well, such as Macedonia, Montenegro, and Albania. And when you travel with a Serbian passport, it's usually the Serbian border guards who give you more shit than anyone else because you're their own citizen and they basically can. For example, because I often have to travel between Serbia and Romania, I would travel up north between the Serbo-Romanian border, and a couple of times when I was traveling, the police on the Serbian side would basically stop and be kind of annoying while the Romanian border guards were completely fine. They would usually stop me and search my stuff and create a fuss over me transporting 3 to 4 bottles of wine, which were gifts. And one time they even gave me like issues because I was carrying a decommissioned military uniform, which is this one right here. While the Romanian guards, like I said, were quite chill. Now, these types of incidents don't happen every single time, but because I travel a lot, they happen quite a decent amount of times. Once even, when I flew in from America to Belgrade, the border guards stopped me and wanted to confiscate my camera and make me pay an import tax on it because I got it as a gift outside of Serbia, even though I had been using this camera in Serbia for a year now, and they were just randomly stopping me at the border and causing a fuss over a camera. And my entire crime was that I didn't have papers to prove the camera, which was just ridiculous. Essentially, when you travel as a Serbian, you have to watch out over this stupid law where basically if you import anything into the country that is over 100 euros in value, you have to pay an import tax, which can be anywhere from 30% to 57% in tax, which again, just kind of ridiculous. Now, overall, the passport is quite useful if you want to travel to countries that the West doesn't have the best relations with, such as Russia, China, Iran, Cuba, but it does have its own negatives, which you will notice after some time.
People think it's this very poor communist place when it's actually a very capitalistic place. You have low taxes.
So, this is a misconception I hear a lot when looking at expat blogs. Serbia, much like the rest of Europe, does not have low taxes. If anything, I've talked quite a bit about this in my videos about the Balkans and Serbia in general. Basically, in Serbia, the sales tax is 20%. In most of the states in the US, the sales tax is around 6%, give or take. The highest sales tax in the entire country is in Alabama, which is at 13.5%. In comparison, in China, the sales tax is 13%, and in Japan, it's only 10%. And when it comes to personal taxes, the situation isn't that much better either. If you're a resident or a citizen of Serbia, you're expected to pay an income tax of 10%. The state pension fund tax at 13%, state health fund at 6.5%, and unemployment tax at 0.5%, which altogether comes out to 30% tax. However, that's not the end. If you have an employer, they too are required to pay 11% of your salary to the state pension fund, 6.5% to the state health fund, and again 0.5% to the unemployment fund. And if you're self-employed and run your own limited liability company, that's another 18% of additional taxes that you have to pay in addition to your original 30, which comes out to a total of 48% tax. Of course, this can be lowered if you register a single employee company, but nonetheless, it's still high. But it still doesn't stop there. If you make 3 times the official average salary, which as of making this video right now is 820 euros, you have to pay an additional 10% tax. And if you make 6 times more, you have to pay another 15%. And if you made any profit investments, then my friend, you have the privilege to pay another 15% in capital gains taxes as well. So, no, Serbia does not have low taxes.
You'll find some of the best women you'll ever see, extremely beautiful women, and they want a traditional life. People buy land, they build a family, they have that culture of building a big family that we're losing in the West.
So, this is just laughably wrong. Like the rest of Europe, Serbia's birth rates are low, at 1.48 births per woman, which is nowhere near the replacement level. The country is also suffering tremendous brain drain. Since Serbia's peak population in 1993, which was around 7.7 million, up until 2022, when its population was 6.6 million, Serbia lost 15% of its population, which is just absolutely insane. And people are not marrying young and having families. On average, men in Serbia get married at the age of 34 and women at the age of 31. So the notion that people in Serbia are having these ultra-conservative religious relationships and getting married and having a lot of kids is just flat out wrong.
Women are not feministic. They don't want to take your job. They don't want to take your business. They don't want to build a massive business. They want to take care of their man.
Now, I don't know where you got this information, but as of 2023, women in Serbia make up 50.93% of the workforce, which technically makes them the majority. Alongside this, women make up 57% of the university students in the country. The idea that Serbian women are these ultra-traditional, conservative, feminine, virgin housewives that are going to be there for every whim is just absolutely wrong. Now, that's not to say that those types of women don't exist in Serbia, but the thing that a lot of these expats overlook is that a lot of these ultra-conservative traditional women live in villages and small towns. As conservatives, they don't want to date a foreigner that doesn't speak their language and know their culture. Think of it this way. Would a Protestant, God-fearing, American born and bred bachelorette from the middle of rural Arkansas want to get married to another American born and bred Protestant or Orthodox Ivan from Russia who barely speaks English? It really doesn't make that you make a lot of money, because at the end of the day, it's about conservative values, not the money. The ones that are willing to date foreigners are usually more liberal and open about those types of things, and they aren't really this archetype of a woman that these expats are trying to sell you.
This home that we stayed in the countryside, you can buy a home like this for around 50 to 60,000 euros, and then you could rent it out on Airbnb or on the local websites for around 300 euros per night.
Now, when it comes to purchasing property in Serbia, yes, you can find good deals going for 50 to 60,000 euros or even less. However, this only applies for rural areas and small towns. In Belgrade and Novi Sad, that's not the case at all. The average price for a meter square in these towns is starting at 2,000 euros. However, it can go up to over 4,000 and even more. And no, you absolutely cannot rent a property in a village for 300 euros a night.
Are you serious?
I can't believe that I even have to say this, but no, it's absolutely not possible. I mean, it is possible, but you're getting scammed then, my guy. You can find this type of pricing in Belgrade, but in rural areas, a price for accommodation is usually 20 to 30 euros tops, for an entire apartment or house. If you want something more luxurious, you can look in the 75 to 100 euros range, maybe slightly more, but not 300. So essentially, as we would say in Serbia, ovaj lik vam prodaje muda za bubreg.
Serbia in general is one of the best investment opportunities in the world.
Yes, Serbia's economy and standard of living are growing, but compared to the West, it's still far from ideal. The country's real GDP growth has been around 3% annually, which is good. However, if you look at the bigger picture and look at the GDP and GDP per capita of other countries in Europe, you're gonna notice that it's gonna take a little bit more than a couple of years for Serbia to become the best place to live in.
Serbians in general do not want to be part of the European Union.
Now, this statement isn't per se wrong, but it's still kind of disingenuous. Now, as of making this video, Serbia has some of the lowest recorded support for joining the EU. Yet, despite this, the EU makes up 77% of Serbia's foreign trade and investment. And the government has been slowly making strides in reforms in the hopes of joining the Union. Keyword, slowly. Nevertheless, Serbs are not opposed to joining the EU because of laws and regulations. Much of those laws are still present in Serbia. You can't be an EU candidate country without having adopted those laws. The main issue is, you guessed it, Kosovo! Essentially, Serbia feels that its territorial integrity has been violated and that the EU and other countries have unlawfully recognized Kosovo, which is essentially perceived by Serbia as unlawful meddling in its internal issues. Because of the ongoing conflict between Serbia and Kosovo and also the slow implementation of reforms, the EU has kind of frozen Serbia's accession into the EU, which further deteriorated the opinion of the EU for the Serbs. Overall, the information in this video is quite wrong and it paints a completely false image of the country. If you're looking to move here or anywhere in the Balkans, do your own due diligence beforehand and be wary of these types of videos because they present something that's not actually there. Serbia can be an amazing country to live in and it also has a lot of benefits to it, but misrepresenting a country like this doesn't help anyone. In contrary, it actually is quite harmful. Serbia welcomes any and all expats, but before you come here, make sure to know what you're getting yourself into for your own sake. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like and subscribe button. And if you really enjoyed it, become a member like these wonderful people. Or check out my merch at theironicshop.com. My name is Janos and you've watched Living Ironically in Europe.